atmosphere, and you know, it's just tense as hell. So anyway, he tells her he wants to play a game, and he asks her, you know, he's going to give her a warm-up question: who's the killer in Halloween? And she's, you know, so she's all upset and distraught, and she's like, Michael Myers. He's like, yes. He was fucking excited, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was getting off on it, I think. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So then he says, okay, next question. And she's like, no. You know, she's freaking out, obviously. But, of course, I mean, he's like, what? You're doing so well. And so he asks her, who was the killer in Friday the 13th? And, of course, everybody, except for horror fans, are sitting there thinking, it's Jason. And so does she. So what does she say? It's Jason. It's Jason. He's like, sorry, that's the wrong answer. And just the way he says it is so fucking
Yeah, and she's like, no, it's not. I've seen the movie 20 goddamn times.
And you should know in the original movie, the original Friday the 13th, Mrs. Voorhees was the killer. Jason didn't come around till the sequel, which is kind of true. He was in the original, but he wasn't the killer.
Right. I'm afraid that was a wrong answer.
And old Steve, it's the end of the line. So Steve gets fucking disemboweled. And
it's
apparently
beautiful.
More disgusting in the original cut of it. They had to cut a couple of frames because his guts originally like fall out onto the ground. They
goes back to the MPAA. The MPAA always had it out for Mr. Craven, always trying to tag his shit with X ratings so that it would never come out. And
slashers, just in general.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
That shit all started with Friday the 13th, the first Friday the 13th, because they let so much get by that, like, they just started going after slashers.
I don't know. What about Last House on the Left? That was about 8 years before Friday, and they tagged his shit.
Yeah, but that didn't get a wide release like Friday the 13th, you know? Or did it?
It got it. It was in a few. It was in a few, 100 theaters, I think, and a bunch of people walked out on it and said it was trash. So. Whatever. I mean, you probably at the time, no, not considered a big wide release. Now, if something goes to 200 theaters, you're like, big fucking what? Whatever. But, back then, 200 theaters for a movie like that was kind of, and granted, there were art house cinemas. Usually art house, that's where we would have been, you and Vic and I, if we would have been around back in the 70s and 80s. We would have went to art house cinema because art house cinema played stuff like that and the David Lynch movie, Eraserhead, and, all that other kind of stuff. So you would have seen a bunch of uncensored shit back in the day.
Hell yeah. I wish we had that now.
Yeah.
Had all the movies get raped, like Friday the 13th Part 7. But anyway, so, yeah, I mean, okay, so this movie, like I said, it got fucking chopped up, but not too bad to the point where it's not enjoyable. So anyway, this serial, Steve gets himself murdered, and now Ghostface, who we'll see shortly, tells her that, that she has another chance now. There's a bonus round. And he's like, which door am I at? What does he say? There's 3 main doors to your house?
2 main doors. There's a front door and the patio doors. Yeah.
So which one am I at? And, she didn't know the fucking answer. She won't answer him. So finally he gets fucking pissed and throws a chair through the window. Or through the back door, or through the patio.
Through the back patio doors, yeah, and then she fucking loses her shit. And the whole time, the kitchen is ablaze. The fucking thing's on fire because the popcorn is sat in there and it's fucking catching everything on fire.
Yeah, and I think that adds to the atmosphere of this whole thing, that popcorn going, because it just adds to the chaos. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You got smoke. Everything's just going crazy. He's chasing after. We get a shot of this ghost face. Guys, let's ask right off the bat. Vic, what do you think of the mask in this movie and the whole costume?
I love it. I wasn't at first. I wasn't like huge on it, but yeah, I love it.
What about you, Blake? I don't even remember what my initial reaction was. This is like seeing, like, I couldn't tell you what I thought of the Michael Myers mask the first time I saw it. It's
the
like
first time
ingrained
I saw
in me.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I saw, the first camera angle they showed her looking down the hall and him running past with all that, the little thing on the back of the mask flapping in the breeze where he's running down the hall. I was like, that's like a fucking wraith or something. And then later, a little bit later, a couple of frames later when she's outside and she looks up from hiding by under the window and looks up. You see that mask. The first thing I thought of was that painting, The Scream by Edvard Munch. You know, it's like a really distorted, fucked up kind of bizarro version of that Scream mask, of that Scream face that is in the painting. It's creepy.
Yeah.
There's no eyes. It's very disconcerting. It's the second time we've had a white mask with expressionless eyes that wreaked havoc on us, in the movies. The first one was obviously Michael Myers, William Shatner mask, and then we've got this one where it's another white mask,
Those white masks obviously work well for these killers, and let's not forget the hockey mask. While it didn't have the emotionless eyes, you do have the white face still there. And it makes sense though that Kevin Williamson would go back to a Halloween trope or a Halloween, concept here with the white, emotionless face and the eyes and everything, because Halloween was Kevin Williamson's favorite horror movie. So it makes sense. He writes the movie. He loved Halloween. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of references, such as...
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot. So, Ghostface chases Casey across the lawn, and, just as her parents are pulling up to the driveway, he fucking catches up with her and stabs her in the heart with this hunting knife. And, it's one of those things where, like, if you're seeing the movie for the first time, you see Drew Barrymore, and to see her, like, get stabbed, you're thinking, okay, maybe this is in the shoulder, she's going to be okay. And then, like, you realize he stabbed her in the fucking heart. You know what I mean? She's done. She ain't coming back from this. And it continues on because he starts choking the shit out of her. And I guess when he's choking the shit out of her, he, like, crushes her windpipe, because when she tries to yell at her parents, nothing comes out.
It was very hoarse, almost a whisper. And remember when he's dragging her along the ground, she's still got the phone on, and the mom and dad have called the phone, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can hear her. I can still hear her."
Yeah, exactly. Like they're gonna call the cops because the house is basically on fire at this point from the popcorn. Casey's nowhere to be found. And then when they pick up the phone, you can hear her, just breathing and just like she's all cut up. He has stabbed her a couple times, and while this is going on, like she pulls his mask off, and you don't get to see who it is, but she kind of gives a look like she knows who it is. And then we cut to the dad and mom, and the dad. This is where we get our Halloween scene. He says, "Drive down to the McKenzie's. I want you to call the police," which is straight up from Halloween.
Absolutely. That word for word. Yep.
Lord, go down to the McKenzie's. I want you to call the police. Yeah, that whole thing. So, the mom runs outside, and what do we see? We see fucking Casey hanging from a tree, disemboweled. And, I was always thinking that was fucked up, but as a parent, it's even more fucked up now to watch it, just to think that, you walk outside and your fucking kid's hanging from a tree.
Yeah, and if you look at it, what adds insult to injury is this is fresh, because entrails are still steaming on the ground.
Yes.
And you're like, fuck, I've got kids, I don't like it.
Yeah, and that's the cut from the whole intro. I mean, that was the whole intro. We cut, and then we go to Sidney Prescott, which we're going to take a break for a second and kind of talk about that intro. In terms of horror movies, and there are some good ones out there, this has to be top 5 intros of a horror movie all time, period. Like, it's that intense. It's that fucking crazy. You get tons of gore. I mean, can you guys think of any others that are right up there with it? I mean, this one is right there for one of the top intros to a movie, especially a slasher of all time.
Oh, yeah, man. This and Halloween, the first opening to Friday the 13th, and then the opening scene of Freddy building the glove in Nightmare on Elm Street, and then this scene from Scream. That's my pantheon right there, man. Those ones I mentioned. There's just nothing like them. And they've been done to death. People have tried to do them, and they just can't do it. Can't capture that magic. They just can't do it.
No, it's really like Vic. Even Chainsaw didn't have this kind of an opening. I mean, Chainsaw was a slow burn, and then it went fucking apeshit. But you know what I mean? Vic said, "Fuck you. You didn't talk good enough about Chainsaw." Anyway, so. But yeah, this opening was just crazy. And not only is it crazy, you get I mean, Drew Barrymore was almost on every single poster. People thought she was going to be a major part of this movie, which she originally was going to be. and then she's the second person killed. So in case anybody ever tries to throw out Scream trivia to you, remember, in the movie, she's the second person killed, although technically the third by Ghostface, right?
Well, unless are we counting Maureen? Since she's
that's what I'm saying. Technically the third, right?
Technically the third, but man, I think it's interesting to note. This is just like with Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, we've got a blonde, pretty, young, nubile teenage girl that has gotten fucked up by the killer. You know.
Yeah, and you know it's weird too because it feels like a tale of two different movies. Like Nightmare on Elm Street felt like two different movies, and this one kind of does too. This goes from the focus on one blonde girl to a dark-haired girl here, the innocent dark-haired girl. So it's interesting. But like I said, we go to Sidney Prescott, who's played by Neve Campbell, a Party of Five at the time. That's what she was known for at the time. Me, I never watched Party of Five. Vic, did you ever watch Party of Five, or are you even still here?
I watched Party of Five a little bit because they had a bunch of hot brides on it, and I used to jack off to them.
Fair enough.
Lovely.
Thanks for the details, buddy.
Yeah, like those two was on there, right?
Hey, man, your right and left won't ever cheat on you. I get it. I understand, man. It's okay.
Exactly.
That's right. They do it right every time.
So I know.
Exactly. But no, I love Neve Campbell. I mean, we did that, top horror Scream Queens or whatever, and she's my number one. So that tells you something. But, originally, like I said earlier, Casey Becker, old Drew Barrymore, was actually supposed to play their old Sydney. And I think it's good that they actually, everything changed up because it may have been a movie that was, I don't know, focused on Drew Barrymore instead of the actual quality of it. I don't know how to describe that, but sometimes it's better off with somebody who's not quite a name.
Standpoint, though, I mean, look at the poster. Okay, 3/4 of the people on the poster were in big-time things at the time the movie was out. Courtney Cox was in Friends, and then you had Neve Campbell in Party of Five, and then you had Drew Barrymore, who, we're talking Batman Forever. She was Sugar, and then before that, we had her in Cat's Eye, we had her in Firestarter, we had her in E.T., so she already kind of made a name. The Barrymore name was already huge. And then Arquette, his sister was real huge at the time. Because she had done True Romance and all that other stuff. And then Skeet Ulrich, you kind of really didn't, he hadn't done too much, up to that point. But he is the nephew, I think, of Ricky Rudd, the NASCAR driver. So that was like a big claim to fame was that he had done that. And then he did The Craft, but I think The Craft actually came out after Scream. Before Scream, I think. It was the same year.
It did.
Yeah, but before, so he had done The Craft. But yeah, they put all these people that had big-time things going on the poster. I think it's one of the first times I'd ever seen a horror film with basically all-star cast like that. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, think about it. Everybody on the poster has either come from a really famous acting family or was currently in something that was like pop culture phenomenon.
And this is actually where this whole thing starts. This is one of the trends that I hate that Scream started, and that was having all these actors on the cover, this stylish cover, whereas back in the day we had these cool art design on the boxes and stuff. It changed over to these profiles of all these actors, which I still despise to this day. I know.
Once
the chicks are naked, I have no point.
They did their poster the same way. I Know What You Did Last Summer, the very first one, had the people.
Halloween H2O.
Yeah, and Halloween H2O, and it just
Urban Legend.
Yeah, I mean, it started a trend, and it was cool for it, but everything after, it's like, horror people. I'm sorry, we're like musicians. We're all fickle. Like when we get exposed to something, and it's not new to us anymore, we're the first to comment on it.
Yeah. Well, that's just. It is what it is. For better or for worse, we are the way we are. But that's going to kind of run into my opinion on Scream later on.
Yeah.
So now we'll switch over now to the focus of the movie now being on Sidney Prescott. Like I said, Neve Campbell. So she's sitting there at her computer typing away, and she hears something in the bushes outside the window. And her boyfriend Billy Loomis, nice little nod to Sam Loomis from Halloween. And then if you really want to throw it back from Loomis, Loomis from Psycho, yeah. So we get the homage there. And, of course, like you said, that's played by Skeet Ulrich. And as I recall, maybe people didn't know him at the